Hi there. My name is Beth Green, otherwise known as Granny Rocks, and tonight I'm going to talk about, is money the problem or is it us? Or is it a combination of both? This is going to be a fun discussion. No, it's not as dry as it sounds like it's going to be. So, tune in and find out all about it. But before we do the show, let's introduce Sweet Baby James, who's going to introduce our show.
Yes, hello everybody. Sweet Baby James, James Maynard. And tonight, as she mentioned, you're going to have a chance to experience her wisdom, her wit, and her very uncommon sense as she shares with us on this topic on our show tonight, Granny Rocks.
Yeah, and I'm not finding the broadcast yet, so I need to find the broadcast in order to get your comments. So I'm going to refresh this page and hope that Facebook cooperates, which sometimes it does. So, I want to, first of all, tell you why I'm talking about this. Because I am so sick of hearing about everything about money. Money, money. Ooh, I see we have a comment already. It came on. Elizabeth said hi. Hi, Elizabeth.
Hi.
So glad to see you. And so I've been thinking a lot about how to promote my music. I have a program called Dreams of Peace that we do every Thursday night at 7 p.m. And people love the show, and I'd like to make more people aware of it, and that means promotion, right? And that costs money, and then it's all about money, and the money streams, and I'm going like crazy with this money topic. So it's like I'm up to here with money, money, money. And so it started me on thinking about this. So I hope that you enjoy this, because I bet you think about money too, a lot more than you want to think about money, or you feel stuff about money more than you want to feel stuff about money. So don't forget to comment. If you comment during the live show, I can talk to you right here live. And if not, we'll talk to you later. So first I want to talk about the obvious. What is money? So let's say we go back to some period in history where we didn't use money. Now, there was such a time, but of course, what we did was we exchanged things, barter, right? Okay, so you had wheat, I had shoes, so we had to get it together. And like you needed to want shoes, and I needed to want wheat, and we had to feel that our exchange was equal, and that wasn't so much fun either, but we all kind of generally had an idea of, well, how much is this worth and how much is that worth, right? So we could feel like there was some equality, unless of course somebody was taking advantage. Oh my God, there's a drop in the wheat production, and suddenly you need to provide more shoes.
Well, look what happened to the Indians when the Americans
Yeah.
bought Manhattan for some beads. And
Right,
such.
exactly. They got cheated, and Blanca said hello, Beth and James, and hola,
Hi.
Blanca. So it was a pain in the butt, because how much wheat is equivalent to a pair of shoes. And I could go into that. Actually, there is a way of looking at the what is the value of, how much time did it take to do this and all that, but I'm not going to go into that, because you really don't want to hear that tonight, maybe some other time. But and the other thing that was a pain in the butt is you had to find somebody who wanted what you had, and that you wanted what they had. So it was kind of a pain in the ass. So, Mana Bendra says, good morning. And with a
Good morning
good
to
morning
you.
to you, Mana Bendra. So happy to see you, and thank you for commenting. So, money was like gold. We agreed on some universal commodity, some coins, some silver, some gold. And said, okay, your wheat is worth X number of ounces of gold, and my shoes are worth X number of ounces of gold. That we could use that, and that was money, right? That was money. Because then it got down to paper. But at least gold had some real value, because somebody had to go and mine the gold and get the gold and blah blah blah. And then suddenly it's money, it's paper, and it has no meaning at all. It's just a piece of paper. It is no longer a commodity. We are no longer exchanging things. We are exchanging our labor for some piece of paper, right? You know. Anyway, now that made things easy in some ways, because it was the universal commodity. I could sell what I have, and I could buy what I want. I didn't need to find somebody who wanted what I had.
Right.
And see, that was very, very cool. But now let's look a little bit. Amy says, thank you for this topic. Well, thank you, Amy. I'm so glad that you're enjoying it. So what happens when you aren't the owner or the producer? Let's say Todd said hi. Hi, Todd. So let's say you are now getting paid to make shoes, and you're getting paid in money, or you're getting paid to grow wheat. And Tracy said hello. Hello, Tracy. She sent a heart. Hi, everybody. Wonderful to see you all. So now you're working for somebody who pays you what? What's he going to pay you? What's she going to pay you? As little as possible, usually. Mirjana sent us hearts and all kinds of things. Well, thank you, Mirjana. It's so good to see you. Thank you, thank you. We have new people coming on all the time. I love it. I appreciate it. I hope you're enjoying what I'm saying so far. So let's say you're now working for somebody. So that person is going to pay you as little money as possible to get what you're producing. And now you can say,
so they can make as much money as possible.
Exactly, because that's how they get their profit. If they can sell what you've made for more than they've paid you, then they have made a profit, right? Right. Yeah, all the costs. So now we're talking capitalism, right?
Right.
So now you're working for somebody, and what you're getting is no longer equivalent to what you produce.
That's
Or
true.
there is no point for the owner, and the owner can say, yeah, but I have these expenses. But you know, how do you know? You know, how do you even evaluate it? And then it gets worse. Let's say you're on the assembly line and you're making the shoes. So you're punching this hole. And you know, it's like, what is the value of you punching that hole in wheat? Right?
Right.
You have no idea what the value is. And so it becomes more and more confusing, and you say, well, I'm getting a pretty good salary, or am I getting a good salary? How do I know if I'm getting a good salary? All I know is that guy is on the top floor in a suite, and I'm in the basement in the factory, and he or she has a great house and I don't. I wonder if something's going on here. And the money becomes a way that all of that gets negotiated and hidden. Like just how much you're getting ripped off is hidden by the money. Now, it gets confusing, doesn't it? It's easier to rip us off. Now, there's another thing about money, which I'm sure that you're very aware of, is that it gets into these crazy numbers, right? Because there's no, see, here we go. We have a $1.9 trillion relief plan. How much money is $1.9 trillion? How many shoes would that be?
Millions upon millions.
I mean, billions of shoes, right? I don't even understand these numbers like billions, right? So what's happening, guys, is that the money is getting more and more abstract, and you're getting less and less aware of what you're getting and if you're getting ripped off. But what are you going to do? You live in a society where you're expected to come in with some cash or a debit card. It's even better. You don't even have to cash out. You got a debit card, or you got, I don't know, credit card or something like that. So at the same time that money is becoming a very distant kind of thing, it's very real. Money equals survival, doesn't it?
In our society, it does.
Well, yes. If you don't have money, you know that money equals survival. You're going to go into the store and you're going to sign an IOU. Well, for just how long is that going to go on, right? And so money equals survival. If you don't have the money, honey,
You can't buy the food.
you can't buy the food, you can't buy the groceries, you can't pay for the rent, you can't pay for anything. So obviously money buys goods and services. It buys a college education for our kids, let's say. It buys influence. It buys leisure time. And I want to get into the influence issue for a minute. What is the value of influence? Why are these people paying enormous amounts of money to politicians and other people for influence? Because the influence can buy you the difference between making a lot of money and making a little bit of money. For example, it could be the difference between regulating water and the environment and the environmental impact and not. It's like, oh, I just want to, just exploit the earth. So I'm buying influence. So now we're not buying wheat anymore. We're not even buying things. We're buying influence, but that influence is connected to survival. So it's like, oh my God, survival, right? Survival. That's very scary. So that is why money is so stressful, because it is associated with survival. But it's also associated with our value in the world. If you don't pay me for something, does that mean you don't value it? So, for instance, I play the piano every week, Dreams of Peace, improvisational piano on Facebook. Jomo says, very good. Thank you, Jomo. Thank you so much. So, I don't charge anything for Dreams of Peace. I just play. Now, you listen or you don't listen. Does that mean you value it? Would you pay me if you had to listen to my music? Do I feel that you really value it if you're not paying me? Am I afraid to ask for money because I'm afraid to find out that you don't value it? Or am I afraid that you actually don't have the money to pay for it? And if I didn't do it for free, there's a lot of people who couldn't listen to that music. So I have to look in my soul and say, do I want to do this for money? Am I afraid to ask for money? Or do I really not want to bring money into the equation? So all of a sudden, money just becomes like, oh my God, the music business. I want to tell you, I've been looking at how to promote my music. Everything is about money. You get this money, and then you have to pay that money, and this is money. Okay. Another thing that money can represent is an imbalance of power. You have it, and I don't. That is an imbalance of power in many, many relationships. You can't survive without me because I've got the money. Isn't that so much of the way men or people of different races and classes have dominated other people who are less powerful than they are? They have the money, right?
Yeah.
So you've got the power to leave, and I don't have the power to leave. You have the power to buy our children's affection, and I don't have that power. My survival is depending on you. So now we have an imbalance of power. So you can see that money is a very scary, stressful thing. And if you have grown up believing that money equals value, guys, you will be stressed even more. Because not only do we have the stress of survival, but the stress of our sense of self-worth. What the hell happened to the shoes and the wheat? Wow, we are so out of balance, aren't we? So, what are we going to do about this? Well, I don't know. I haven't thought about that yet. I'm not up to that. But first I want to say that money does not equal value. One of the most obvious examples of that is housework and raising of children. Women forever have been raising children, mostly women, some men, but mostly women, and don't get paid for it. And so those women don't have any power because they can't leave their husbands, for example. But they have also been out in the world where the value of housework is nothing. I mean, nobody thinks about housework as having value. I remember when I joined the Wages for Housework campaign many years ago, and we started talking about what would it cost to replace a mother or a wife. If you had to pay somebody to do all of that, then you would begin to see how much value there was. But that isn't in our thinking. I am not going to go too far in the show today. Why? Because I want you to think about what money means to you and why you are stressed about it. So I'm going to sit right here and wait till you tell me something about why you feel stressed about money. And think about some of the things that I've said, and think about how scary it is to never know what contribution you're making because you don't know what you're making. You know, most people don't make products. They just...
Well, if you're in a service capacity, how do you value the service that you give?
That's right. How do you value the service? Or if you're on an assembly line, or if you're the clerk, or if you're even the CEO. I mean, what really are you doing other than, you know, ripping people off? So I want you to take a moment and think about what you feel when you think about money. And I'm just going to wait for a moment. Da, 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 da,
I have
da,
mine.
Go ahead, James.
The word compulsion comes to mind.
Ooh.
I have compulsion to have enough money to meet my needs. So I feel driven, stampeded, as it were, to make sure. It's almost like the hamster on the treadmill, where you're running and running and running and running to keep ahead of
The bills?
The bills. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And, you know, that is such a good point because in our society, we are so encouraged to spend money that we don't have. That in itself becomes a great stressor because we all feel, or so many of us feel like it's a house of cards. That anything, you know, you're one paycheck away or the value of your house goes down. You don't have a future. You can't retire. It's like, oh, I don't have enough money. I don't have enough money. I don't have enough money. But isn't there also, and I totally agree with that, isn't there also a tendency to worship money? Amy says we treat money as dirty. That's interesting. I was just talking about how we worship money and yet we treat money as dirty, don't want to talk about it, yet totally stressed about about what having it or not means about us. That is very true. And yet, in polite circles, we may not talk about money unless you're up in the echelons of you're in a business and all you talk about is money. Oh, I've got clients who made so much money because they came to work for me, or they were working with me,
or they invested on my advice.
Right, or they, you know, I took over your promotion and suddenly you were making all kinds of money. Elizabeth says we don't have enough money to pay for extra treatment for a chronic condition that insurance, doesn't pay for. It makes me feel angry, frustrated, because there are many people who have so much money they don't know what to do with it. And some of them are in our government. Yes, I totally understand that. James and I just hit something where I bought 72 days of medication, which I definitely, desperately need, and it was $630. $630. Where the hell are we going?
And last year it cost us 1/10 of that. The price was jacked up and we had no control over it.
Well, that wasn't exactly
Well,
right.
yeah, if
Right.
you,
But
if
it
once you
did
got
go up.
past the
It did go
deductible,
up.
yeah.
So yes, it's scary. That's back to the maybe we won't have enough medication. Elizabeth said, I feel fatigued at the thought of not having enough money to retire because I'm already feeling tired. Oh my God. I got that one. We don't have enough money to retire. But see, you don't want us to retire, do you? Todd says, I feel a variety of feelings. I feel grateful because we have it in our family, but I also feel stressed with fear of it drying up somehow. That is such an important point. No matter how much money you have, I knew a guy who was like really, really, really lucky, and he used to keep bullion under his bed.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he was more freaked out about money than anybody. So it's not always when you don't have it, as Lizzie was talking about. Even people who have it are afraid they're going to lose it, like Todd is saying. Tracy said, I feel guilty about money when I have money, more money than others, when I spend it on my needs. Oh my God, that is so true, and such a painful thing of when you look at the plight of other people and you feel the pain of their situation, and then how are you going to reconcile yourself to the fact that you have it, or maybe you were born with it. I can't even imagine what that must be like to be born with money. Came from your family, or you got lucky. Catalina said, I feel angry about needing money when I can't earn any. Oh my God, another incredibly important point. I've been working on not feeling worthless about not making money. Isn't that sad? Isn't that absolutely sad? Catalina, it's not just you. I think you are seeing from my little talk today that everybody is screwed up about money. You know, we either have it and we're afraid to lose it, or we have it and we feel guilty, or we don't have it and we feel worthless because we feel that money is what makes us valuable. That's a terrible thing. Just a terrible thing. So we are coming to the, oh, Amy said, I'll never be able to retire. And that's not inherently negative, but compared to others who do retire, I feel like a failure. Oh, yes. Oh my God, that is such a good point too, Amy, because I feel like what's wrong with us that we haven't saved enough money because we were busy spending it on things that we needed or that we thought we needed, or that we lost money or we blew it and then we feel like failures. This is the story of money. We have just scratched the surface, right, about what money means in our world. So I want to come back to the original question. Is money the problem, or is it us, or is it a combination? Well, it's obviously a combination. Money is a problem because it's completely devoid of meaning. It's paper, it's debit cards, it's like, it's those, those, what do you call those things, where you have a loan and it's not really secured and all of that stuff. And you're on the stock market and you're short selling, and none of this has any relationship to anything real. Think about the shoes. And then there's all this emotional stuff that you guys are coming up with so eloquently. So as I close out tonight's show, I want you to continue to think about money, what it represents to you, and I want you to start thinking about shoes and wheat and the reality of what money is supposed to be, which is a means of exchange, a way to get our needs met, and that we need to find out what our needs really are and what the society's needs really are. If we hadn't gotten really screwed up, we would never be raping our environment in order to make money, because we would see that in the future we won't have a planet to exploit anymore. Not that I think we should be exploited. So write your comments. I will answer them even after the show. And thank you for coming. And think about this and laugh about it with me. And let's all try to take a deep breath and say, money is no longer real. But it connects to real things like the feeling of failure, the ability to retire, our health, our ability to pay for our medical expenses, to give an education to ourselves or our children, to have clean water and live in a good place. And that's all gotten wrapped up with money. And maybe it's time to change that and to realize that the purpose of society and the economy is not to make money, but to meet our needs. And so don't forget to come back next Wednesday for another Granny Rocks. And that's at 6:30 Pacific time. And come back every Thursday at 7 p.m. and watch Dreams of Peace improvisational piano, where I play the piano to feed our souls. And I feed our souls.
And maybe the music will help to ease the stress around money.
Maybe it will. So we have to go because we have a group coming up.
Yes.
Thank you always for joining us, for your wonderful comments and your love and your interest and your engagement. Mwah. Mwah. See
Bye-bye for
you
now.
soon. Bye-bye. Oh, Mirjana said, welcome, Global People's Monetary System. So Mirjana put in a link to something, and if you're interested, take a look at it. I have to go to a group now, but be well.